back with another peek inside my TBR list. These are my favourite videos to make, so if you enjoy them, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe to the channel. I will make these videos once a month for you to enjoy. I already have a playlist ready for you to look at if you are so inclined. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, let's get on with the task in hand. Let's see what I read last month and then what I'll be reading this month. So the first book I read last month was Forgotten Memories by Cecilia Egeton. Oh, sorry, the bookmark fell out of it. I have finished it, but still left the bookmark in, obviously. This has Norse vibes going on. I have to say, there wasn't too much of the Norse vibes going on in the first book, but I know this is part of 3 books, and I spoke to Cecilia at a book fair a couple of weeks ago, and she said that the 3rd book is coming out hopefully by the end of this year, and that will have a lot more Norse vibes in it. So I'm hoping that as the series goes on from book 1 to 2 and then to 3, we gradually increase those vibes, because I love Norse mythology. I love anything written that's about Vikings, so I'm quite interested to see how that develops. I can see kind of where the links are already forming, which is great, so I'm hopeful that there will be more of those Norse feelings and those Norse magical themes coming through the series as I continue with it. Let's talk about Forgotten Memories though. So this story is about Jax. He is a demon, and he is tasked by his best friend to look after his daughter because he thinks that people are after his daughter. There's a lot of mystery surrounding that. No one really knows why or who is coming after Cassie. But Jax agrees to that, and he starts looking after her, and then gradually starts developing feelings for her, which is really nice. It's a bit of a slow burn at first, and at times I did question the chemistry, but it did come through further on in the story, which I was really pleased about. And I really like the way Jax kind of becomes part of Cassie's familial group in the end, because I really like Jax and Leah's relationship. That was one of my favourite aspects of the book. I do really love the magic system involved, and particularly Leah's magic, because she's like an elemental witch, and that's pretty cool. She controls the elements and stuff, so it was really good to see that being used. I do like that kind of magic, and there is a bit of a mysterious villain, bit of a question over who the big bad is for the whole of the story, which was quite interesting to find out who that was. And the story does end on a bit of a cliffhanger, so that's good. I do love a cliffhanger. It makes me want to read the rest of the series, rather than just, cutting it clean at the end. My books are like that, and I like reading books like that. So yeah, I do recommend Forgotten Memories as a book if you are interested in magic, bit of love put in there, bit of romance, friendships, found family, those kind of themes. This is the book for you. Next up, we had Raising the Roof by Cassie Rush. This is another author that I met at the same event I spoke to Cecilia at, and I bought one of her books as well. Just as an aside at the moment, next week's video will be about how to support indie authors, and both of these books are written by indie authors. So if that is something that you are interested in, if you love reading books by indie authors but you're not quite sure how to support their work and how to get their stories out there, then you want to like and subscribe to this channel so that you're notified of next week's video. So I'm sorry, that was just a plug for a subscription for the channel. But let's get back to the main point. So, Raising the Roof by Cassie Rush. This is a cosy mystery book, and I picked this up primarily because one of my reading targets for this year was to read more cosy mysteries. And I think after reading Raising the Roof, that's definitely not going to be a problem now, because I am locked into this series. It's got a main character who is part-time vicar, part-time nurse. So she's kind of got her hand in all the pies. She kind of sees all the gossip of the small town, which is incidentally based on a town that I visited called Southwold in Suffolk. But this is the name is slightly different. It's Eastwold by the sea, but it's based on Southwold apparently. So that was really interesting. I do a lot of those where I base my villages or my towns on the places that I visited. So it was nice to see another author doing that as well. So yeah, let's get back to the plot. So Alina that's the main character. She's all over the gossip, and she sees all these kind of like arguments and backstabbing moments of gossip where the villagers are just basically not liking this lady called Kitty. Hold on, I've got to get the second name right because I keep forgetting the name. Kitty Blenkinsop. She's a bit of a battle axe, really. That's the only way I can describe her. She's like the quintessential, not very nice. No one likes her in the village. And straight away I had the feeling she was going to be the one that ended up dead. And lo and behold, she was. So the rest of the village, including Alina, are all suspects. And yeah, so the plot is basically Alina trying to figure out who is the guilty party. She has this friendship with a guy called Fitz, who I really, really like. And if you've ever seen any Agatha Christie stories, particularly the Margaret Rutherford one, he's kind of like the Mr. Stringer to Miss Marple. If you know, you know. If you don't know, check out Margaret Rutherford's Agatha Christie movies because they are brilliant. And especially if you like cosy mysteries and kind of like small town villagey vibes and stuff like that, they're brilliant and well worth your time. Eastwell by the Sea is full of crazy characters. We've got the cantankerous old people, we've got gossipy people, we've got single mum who's struggling, so it's kind of like it covers all ranges of people, which is really nice. And there are times in there where some of the comments and some of the things that are said just make me laugh, which was really nice to have. There's so much kind of like underhandedness going on behind the scenes, a bit like Midsummer Murders. If you've ever watched Midsummer Murders, you know what I mean. So yeah, this is another book that I would recommend. Again, this ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. Alina has a backstory that is kind of filtered through the whole of this story, and it kind of comes to a head at the end, which gives me hope for carrying on with the next series. I kind of want to know what happens. So yeah, and I've got 2 other books in the series. I'm not sure if there's more in the series, but I bought the follow-up 2 books as well, so I will be reading those later this year. My next book that I started to read last month is The Power Method by Tiago Forte. Now I only got halfway through before I realised that actually, I think I said this in last week's video, this is kind of like an add-on to Tiago's Building a Second Brain. So it kind of like deals with the power section of Building the Second Brain. So that's how you organise stuff in your second brain. If you are not sure what a second brain is or what I'm talking about at this point, hang in there. I will be giving you a tour of my own second brain in Notion in, say, the next month or so. That is something I intend to do and something that I'm looking forward to doing. So if you're not sure, because I mentioned this to someone a few weeks ago and they were like, sorry, what? They thought that my phone had auto-corrected something when I mentioned second brain. Didn't have a clue what I was talking about. So if you are one of those people as well, that's fine. I'm going to show you how my second brain is helping me with my writing and my author career and stuff like that. So just skip this section if you want to and go on to what I'm reading next month. So I started reading The Power Method, but I got halfway through and I realised that actually I kind of needed to see the whole theory as a whole. So I picked up Building a Second Brain and I started reading that. Now, I'm not finished, so this is going to be one of my reads for this month. Well, to finish this is one of my reads for this month. And then I will finish that. So those 2 are kind of like my non-fiction picks for this month. Again, this is something I'm trying to increase the amount of non-fiction or productivity books that can help me build my business. I haven't really done that in the past, so this is something that I want to try and do and bring into my reading life now that I'm taking that next step, more serious step into my author career. My first fiction book that I've already started reading, I'm not going to lie, because I finished Forgotten Memories and Raising the Roof a week or so ago, so I started reading this one. And this one is called The Happy Hour by Cressida McLaughlin. And I'm going to be meeting her in a couple of weeks on the 22nd of June at a meet cute at somewhere called Bushy Gardens. So she's going to be on a panel with Kirsty Greenwood's going to be there as well. So they're 2 of my favourite authors. So I thought I might as well, seeing as the book's come out, I might as well read the book and then talk to her about it when I meet her. It'll give me something to talk about with her. Beyond that, I like the concept of this book. The tagline is, can they fall in love 60 minutes at a time? And I like the idea because it's basically about two people who meet serendipitously one Sunday in Greenwich Market. He's there, Ash, he's there because he's got an appointment to keep in Greenwich, but he's only got this window of 1 hour before the appointment, and he likes to get there an hour earlier because he likes to sort of like sort his head out before he goes to this appointment. We don't know what the appointment is. Well, I do now, but I'm not going to say because that's a big spoiler. And then we've got Jess, who kind of like puts herself out for others all the time. And then she meets Ash, and he invites her for coffee, and he explains he's only got an hour every Sunday, and they kind of develop this thing where they meet every Sunday for an hour. And obviously they end up falling in love. And the slow burn and the chemistry between them, it's all there. I love it at the moment. And can't wait to see how this book finishes. This is a really good, highly recommend this book. I love it. It's everything you want for a cosy, romantic story. So if you're into that, Happy Hour is for you. Now, my last book is a bit of a self-plug, I'm not going to lie, but my last book is The Call of the Valkyries. Now, there is a reason I'm reading this. It's not just vanity. Well, partly it is, but not really. Because with Lessons in Love finishing and wrapping up, and hopefully that will be done by July, I'm hoping, putting a tentative date on July, although I'm not committing myself to anything yet, but kind of naturally thinking about the next story. And I've been at a crossroads for the last few weeks. Do I do the next story in the Appleford series and carry on with that momentum, or do I go back to the Viking saga and finish that, because that's been hanging around for a year or so. I published The Rising Storm last February or March, I think, so I haven't done anything with that for like a year. So I've eventually decided that my attention needs to go back to the Viking saga. I think I'm personally ready for a bit of fantasy and a bit of sword and sorcery and magic and, you know, just whacking things with swords and axes and stuff. So I'm reading this. I'm going back to the beginning of the series to freshen my mind about what happened, making notes as I go, and then next month or this month I will be continuing with The Rising Storm, again going through that and making notes. So I have to make time to read my own books as well occasionally, especially if I haven't touched a series for a year or so. I do have some news in the next couple of weeks about writing updates and my writing life in general, so I will be posting that. It won't be next week, it'll be the week after, because I just need a little bit more time to finalise a few things in my own head. Again, if that's something that you would like to know about, subscribe to the channel, like this video, you will be notified for the next video where I talk about my writing update. So that's it for this video. My fiction reads of the month are The Happy Hour and The Call of the Valkyries. My non-fiction reads are Building a Second Brain and The Power Method, both by Tiago Forte. If you enjoy these kind of videos where I talk about books, where I talk about what I'm reading, you will enjoy the playlist, which I will put over here somewhere, called The Book Nook. I've done a monthly video ever since I started the channel about what I'm reading, so please check that out. Until next week, like the video, share it if you feel so inclined, and I will see you next week with a video about how to support our indie authors. See you later. Bye.